And we're live. Welcome to What Are We Talking About with Jamie Jakes. I am him. I am sitting here with NFL insider James, and we are here to make you guys some money. James, we are back. People can see us this time. Last week, we only had our hardcore fans, and I decided to still put it out. I decided to put the whole video out, let our fans see it so they can get our picks, and you're welcome for that because James, who's red hot, had a winning week again. He beat me in our matchup again. It is 5-4. James has a 4-game winning streak, which means I open up the season with a 5-game winning streak. If this is your first time joining us, how this works every single week is James and I go head-to-head. NFL Insider James presents us a slate of games to bet on. Could be every game on the slate. Could be one game on the slate. There are no rules. The only one rule is I have to make a bet on that game. And per those parameters last season in the regular season, I earned and won the hammer of truth and justice. But I feel my grip shaking and going towards James's direction, but not quite yet. He's got to beat me through 18 weeks of the NFL season. And he's been beating me every single week for the past 4 weeks on an absolute hot streak. The hottest streak I think James has ever been on this podcast. I think I has to be, right? Speaking of which, our bet of the week, our best bet of the week, red hot again. So we love to see that as well. James, how are you feeling about this slate, week 10?
Feel pretty good. I've got some interesting ones for you. I don't think outside of one of these bets, you have a money line. So that'll tease a little bit of what I got going here. But I'm going out of the box this week. We'll see what happens.
So you're going all spreads and over unders?
Maybe.
Whoa.
Maybe.
James has been taking some notes from me. Maybe that's why he's been beating me. He's taken everything that I know and applying it against me. A real jiu-jitsu reverse momentum type move out of you. So congratulations to you, James. We are still red hot on this podcast. So congratulations to the people who've been following us through the thick and thin of our internet connections last week. There was a power outage, by the way. I did my entire broadcast hotspotted off my phone. Did not go well. So I apologize for that. We are trying our best to get you guys some good content, but most importantly is get you guys some winners. And that's what we did last week. We did have I do need to bring up a grievance from last week, our last week, week 9 recap. I would have beat you if Matt Prater hadn't doinked his kick that would have put the game to an over or a push, depending on where you got it. I would have gone 2-1-1. Instead, I go 2-2 with the doink off the upright. It was heartbreaking to watch in real time. Good news is we got my reaction on camera. So if you want to see my reaction to that, you can go ahead and check in the YouTube shorts section. But James, you hit some money line bets, some plus money line bets last week. And for that reason, you are going on to be potentially tying us up in this week. Any recap from last week from you, James? Anything you want to bring up?
I did not like the slate last week. I was not happy with the lines. I'm not as happy. I'm less perturbed than last week, but the books are getting sharp for sure.
Yeah, we're getting towards the end of the season, and I did a little bit of self-scout from my picks from last year, and I might have been skipping a few steps in my sports handicapping, and we're kind of apply it this week. See if you can catch what I am getting back to doing that made me so successful last year. If you followed me last year, you were very, very rich at the end of the season. The more money you bet on me, the more you won, obviously. We did have a trade deadline, so let's quickly recap that. The big ones here, of course, Rashid Shaheed, wide receiver from the Saints to the Seahawks. Jacoby Myers from the Raiders to the Jags, because, the Jags are win now. They're going to, real smart move out of the Jags. They're going to go ahead and win. Sauce Gardner from the Jets to the Colts. Jets also trade away Quinnen Williams to the Cowboys. So if you were like me and you set your waivers for your defensive fantasy football positions in the beginning of the day, and you woke up this morning, you're like, fuck, I picked the Jets because they have a pretty favorable matchup defense-wise. go ahead and pick somebody else up because they just traded away their entire defense. My big takeaway was, why didn't the Bills take one of those wide receivers? Both Jacoby Myers and Rashid Shaheed was very cheap, and I think would have started for the Bills on day one. That's probably the main position that they're lacking. And of course, they'll probably just tell you, like, oh, we got Josh Allen and Dalton Kincaid. What else do you want from us? Like, we're good. But I would have liked to see, if I was a Bills fan, I would have liked to see the Bills invest in one of those wide receivers. And we do have some Lions fans who follow us very, very closely. Some Lions fans were texting me last night telling me how disappointed they were that the Lions didn't pick anybody up. To that, I say, still got probably top 2, top 3 rosters in the league as we're sitting right now. Probably the best roster in the NFC. They just got to put shit together. And all of those picks that went through last week, like Sauce Gardner, like, yeah, we could use corner help. Do I want to spend 2 first-round picks and what would amount to be like an Isaac Tesla in return for Sauce Gardner? Hell no. No chance would I be accepting that. And obviously, we don't need wide receiver help. You know, Quinn and Williams would have been nice, but the price the Cowboys paid to get him, a little too high for my liking. So I like sustained success because you need luck to win in the NFL. And if you go all in on one season, that's great. Every once in a while, you win a Super Bowl doing that. But more times than not, you almost win the Super Bowl, and then your team sucks for the next half a decade because you leveraged your whole future on one season. You know, your quarterback goes down, and those draft picks are looking pretty tasty. Ask how the Cleveland Browns went for them with Deshaun Watson. Right, James? So any takeaways from the NFL trade deadline, Mr. James?
I was more thinking of the Rams when you were talking about trading away draft picks for sending it all in there, because they got it, but then they sure had to wait.
They are the example that proves the rule of the opposite direction, right? They went ahead and won the Super Bowl with Matty Stafford.
They still definitely had to endure some poor years after that trade.
They sure did, and the Lions benefited from it. So I guess that's probably what the Jets are doing. When the Lions came into town, or the new GM came into town, Brad Holmes, he was like, get this Matt Stafford out of here. We can't win with him. Just kidding. He was good for the organization, but the trade made sense for the time. We got Goff. I think Matt Stafford is a good character guy, and he did offload a lot of guys for pretty decent draft capital. The big one, the big name being TJ Hawkinson. When Dan Campbell, Brad came into town, they said, this guy, he's not a Detroit guy. He has not enough grit for us. And look at him now, doing pretty well. Although, got some revenge on the Lions last week, didn't the Vikings, Mr. James? So, yeah, what do you got? Anything else on that, James?
No, a fairly uninteresting trade deadline, in my opinion. I don't think any of these moves.
Oh, I thought it was great.
I mean, I think the moves are interesting. None of them move the needle in terms of who I think is a better or worse team off of it. I think the teams just got additional pieces, but nothing here where I was like, wow, somebody's a Super Bowl contender all of a sudden.
I agree. And I guess probably the big one would be Sauce Gardner going to the Colts, because that's their big hole on their team, is their cornerback position. But how good is Sauce Gardner this year? I don't really know. I mean, he's obviously an above average corner. Is he an all-pro corner this year? No, hell no. Is he a Pro Bowl corner this year? I guess we'll find out in the next few weeks. His corners are pretty up and down. Let's move on. Let's get these viewers, these live viewers here on YouTube, some winning bets for Week 10. What do you say, James?
I'm in.
And you know what? I'm in too. And you know what that means? We gotta blow the money train whistle. Some Week 10 winners coming your way. You're welcome in advance. And we are going to start our slate, a medium-sized slate for James's sake this week, with the Saints and the Panthers, a big blockbuster game that everybody's going to have on their YouTube TV quad box at noon. The Panthers are at home, and they are 5 or 5.5 point favorites. The over-under set to 39.5 or 40, depending on where you get those lines. And like we always say, shop your lines, get the best line available from the best sports book that's given it. It is a perfect weather game. James, what do you got on this one?
I mean, is it a slate if I'm not putting a Carolina Panthers game on it? I think that's just tradition at this point. I thought this one was
Panthers.
one of the ones that stood out to me, and I said, "What the heck? 5.5 to the Carolina Panthers. What's going on here?" Little did I know that the Saints would be waving the proverbial white flag with their season already, trading away, of course, Raheem Shaheed. So I went a little bit out of the box here. I think Carolina is a much better team. I think Carolina still wants to win. I think Carolina still wants to make the playoffs. I think New Orleans Saints have realized that they have succumbed to the tank bug, as I'll call it. They've caught a little cold, and they've realized that a first-round draft pick in a much higher position is a very good thing for them. So all those factors laying in here, I am not even taking the spread. I'm taking an alternate spread. I'm taking minus 6.5 for the Carolina Panthers, which comes out to a plus 105 payday.
Whoa. Okay, James. So I've got, so you took the Panthers side. Is that correct?
That is correct. Minus 6.5, little alternate spread for you.
Got bad news for you. You're on the public side. 82% of the money on the Panthers spread. 79% of the money is on the over, which doesn't outlaw you from riding with the public, because every once in a while the public wins. But we know that these books, they're rich for a reason. They have billboards all over the United States for a reason. They have a podcaster, every single podcaster telling you to play on their sports book for a reason. And it's not because those podcasters really like sports gambling. It's because they have a lot of money to give to these podcasters because they win bets more than they do not win bets. So how do we figure out a way to bet against the public with the sports books? Panthers, I compared defenses. Panthers have a similar defense to the Bears. And in the matchup with the Saints in week 7, the Saints were only able to muster 14 points in that game. Saints defense, per my metrics, per my model, it's very similar to the Jets defense. Panthers scored 13 points against them also in week 7. So that would make this potentially a 14-13 football game, which is well under the under. Now, how do these teams match up against each other? Both of these teams, I mean, the Saints really can't do anything on offense, right? The Panthers, they can run the damn football, right? With Rico Dowdle, who is questionable, working through something. I doubt it's going to really matter for this game. Both teams can stop the run well. 11th and 12th ranked per my model. Both teams struggle to score points and are good enough to stop bad offenses on the defensive side of the football. Most of the money is on the over, like I said. So give me under 40 points on the total in this one, James.
Wow.
Not a disagreement, not an agreement either. So we're moving on to our next game, the Jags and the Houston Texans. The Texans are 1 or 2 point favorites at home, depending on where you get it. The over-run is at the 37.5 or 38.5. Some great games you've selected for us early on this slate, James. Obviously in a dome, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, so I really looking at kind of the same thing here. At least with this Jaguars team, it looks like they actually want to win, but really making trades that don't make sense, in my opinion, unless for some reason, they're going to all of a sudden have Jacoby Myers playing cornerback as well. That might make sense with how the Jaguars like to play with their wide receivers. I think the Texans are once again in a position where its winter season is over. I think this is a situation that I often look at in terms of hot seats. And my boy DeMeco Ryans, good friend of the NFL Insider crew. If you do get fired, which I hope you don't, but if you somehow do get fired, defensive coordinator at Alabama next year would be a great job for you after Kane Womack takes another head coaching job. Just going to throw that out there. But I think the Texans have to win this game, or DeMeco Ryans is probably fired, in my opinion. And so I'm taking the alternate spread here again, and I'm saying the Houston Texans are going to win this game at -3, which is a plus 120 payout.
Wow. And I think that's a really, really, I would never recommend, no matter how hot James is, I would never recommend selling points out to a key number of 3. That's, if you look at the percentage of games that end with 3-point lead, you are giving up a lot of money and you're not getting up enough back from those greedy sports books. What'd you get? What was it like plus 115 on that?
Plus 120.
Plus 120 on that. If you can get plus 120, that's not too bad, but it's not too great either, James. I would highly recommend against that. Just a math thing for you there. So that's where my contention is with that pick. But let me tell you what I like about that pick. 73% of the money is on the Jags spread. 85% of the money is on the over. Jags are 4-2 in close games. Texans are 0-5 in close games because they do have a horrible head coach, like you just mentioned, which makes everybody want to bet on the Jags. So it's a short spread. You want to bet on the Jags. That's how I won the bet last week when I bet against the Texans. But there's a problem with that betting on the Jags, James. The offenses on paper, per my model, are similarly ranked. Defenses are not similarly ranked. Texans, my number one defense based on my model. Jags are 11th and plummeting. They started out really, really hot. They were a top 3 defense, if you remember, James, in my model for the first 5 weeks of the season. And now they are just absolutely plummeting down the rankings, as you would expect with a team who drafts Travis Hunter. The Jags,
their best cornerback in Travis Hunter, is actually,
of course,
pushing there. Thank you.
Of course. Thanks for pointing that out. They did lose a key defensive piece who we never could have, no one who knows about biomechanics could have ever seen Travis Hunter getting a non-contact injury in his rookie season, trying to play both ways at 180 pounds. No one could have possibly seen that coming, James. So shock to all of us. It rocked me to the core when I saw that Travis Hunter got injured. No way you could have seen that coming at all unless you listened to any of our podcasts this offseason. The Jags, anyways, cannot score against good defenses. They only score 7 against the Rams, who are my number 2. Now they're going up against my number 1 in my model this week. Texans scored 15 against the Broncos and 17 against the Seahawks, who are better defenses per my model. Jacoby Myers does not have me shaking in my boots. So go ahead and give me the Texans, and I am going to lay 1 point. I'm not going to buy out to 3 like James did. Give me the Texans at -1, and that is sort of an agreement, which has been red hot. If you've been following us for the past 4 weeks or so, the Ravens and the Vikings are our next game on the slate. The Vikings are at home in a dome, of course, getting 4 or 4.5 points after a big win against the Detroit Lions on the road. The over-under set to 47.5, 48.5. James, what do you got on this one?
Well, I tried to poke holes in this Vikings team because I was like, intuition said, let's bet the Vikings here, right? I dove into the numbers. All the numbers are saying the Vikings, right? So I said, let's play devil's advocate. Where's the worst part of the Vikings offense? Well, the worst part of the Vikings offense is their pass game, and is most of those statistics the ruining it when Carson Wentz was at quarterback? Probably. But if we just say that the Vikings are really bad at passing this ball, the worst part of Baltimore's defense is their pass coverage. And so if I just look at those things, they're much better at Baltimore in every category, even, with their worst part of their game, which is mostly the 3 games of Carson Wentz, their pass game. I don't see how this Vikings team isn't favored in this matchup. I'm taking the Vikings at +4.
Okay, so siding with, I'll give you 4.5, James. How do you like that?
Very much. That's very kind.
You're welcome. 80% of the money on the Ravens, so you're betting against the public, James. But there's a reason for that. The Ravens defense is red hot in the last 3 weeks. Held the Rams, one of the best offenses in the league, 17. Held the Bears, who are, I'm not going to say it too loud, but one of the best offenses in the league, to 16. And held the Dolphins, who are not one of the best offenses in the league, to 6 points. Season-long model for the Vikings. Actually worse offense, but like you said, Carson Wentz was a part of that offense. And J.J. McCarthy was too for the first 2 weeks. Didn't look very good either through those first 2 weeks. But either way, big sample size, Vikings offense is trash. I realize the Vikings looked incredible against the Lions. They put up 27 points to them last week. But I don't want to overreact to just 1 week of football. I want to take the whole season and take it in and account for it, right? Lions, by the way, play terrible off breaks. Last season, week 1 against the Rams, they go to overtime when the Rams weren't that good that season. This year, they lay an absolute egg to the Packers in week 1. This season, obviously, coming off a bye, they look terrible against the Vikings. And last season, when they had the 1 seed and they get a bye into the divisional round, they lay an egg against the Washington Commanders and lose, go 0-barbecue in the playoffs last season. The only time they've ever looked good off of a bye is a big-time revenge game for Dan Skipper, because everybody knows he told the referees he was an eligible receiver, and they still flagged him for it. Took points off the board that should have been Dan Skipper's points in the revenge game against the Cowboys, where Aiden Hutchinson broke his leg in half, and they still slaughtered the Cowboys off of a bye. So that's the only exception where the Lions have actually looked decent, like off the break or off of a bye. They are like a momentum, getting a rhythm type team. And we have a bigger sample size where the Ravens over the past 3 weeks of their season have looked very, very good on defense. Vikings have a much better defense than the Bears and the Dolphins. The Ravens are able to put up 30 points and 28 points on those two teams. Granted, one of those games was without Lamar Jackson. So I hear you. And I've said these Ravens, dead nuts over team all season. But when I see trends, James, I cannot ignore them. So give me the under 48.5 points in a Ravens game. I'm not worried about it at all, James. I'm not worried about it at all. Moving on to Rams at the 49ers. The 49ers are at home getting 3.5 or 4 points, depending on where you're getting them. The over-under is at the 49.5 or 50.5. This should be, again, we've had the best weather. I'm going to go ahead and mention this. Knock on wood. We've had the best weather in outdoor football games that we have ever had in NFL history as far as I've been alive. We haven't had a single throwaway Soldier Field mud bowl yet this season. So big win for or big L for Big Dome. I'll say that much. Outdoor stadiums are shining literally this season. Anyways, Rams 49ers, James, what do you got on this one?
Well, yeah, Buffalo Bills. A little shot at them there, huh? Brutal. And
the Browns.
And the Browns.
They're getting a dome.
Wow.
Getting off the lake. Yep.
I heard Deshaun Watson was also trying to get that.
You think Deshaun Watson's big dome?
I think he's trying to get dome in the massage parlor. Anyway.
Is that what you were saying?
Yes. Last time these two teams played, Mac Jones put on an incredible performance where he physically puked because he was in so much pain. I think my boy Mac does it again. This team has already beaten Los Angeles in a neutral site stadium. We'll call it at best in Los Angeles. Now they're at home. I'm taking the Niners at plus 3.5. Win them again. Let's do it.
James, guess what? I got good news for you. I'm going to give you another half a point. You get 4 points on this game. So congratulations. 92% of the money on the under, by the way. Basically exactly what you just said. On paper, Rams are a much better team, which would make this spread appropriate until you consider that this is a divisional matchup that tend to skew to a closer game. The 49ers already beat the Rams at LA in week 5. The total of that game, by the way, was 49 points, and 92% of the money is on the under. So maybe if you're a conspiratorial minded person, maybe you go ahead and just bet the over blindly in this one. I'm not going to recommend that. I am going to agree with you and take 49ers plus 4 points, James.
They did have to go agreements to hit that 49 points, so that definitely factors in there.
That does factor in there. The next game on the slate is the Lions and the Commanders. The Commanders are getting 8.5 or 9.5 points at home, depending on where you're getting those bets. The over-under set to 49.5 or 50 points. James, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, my notes said, let's guarantee a disagreement. Commanders plus 9.5.
Is that all you got to say about that?
Yep.
Okay.
I
figured.
let you run with the Detroit games. I know you've got a long list of things you want to say about these games. I keep my stuff short for Detroit. You're welcome.
You know me, and that's what makes us good co-hosts together, and that's why I like doing this with you, James. Lions, big money team, a lot of money behind the Lions against sportsbooks. Sportsbooks aren't budging. 94% of the money on the Lions spread, 91% of the money on the under. In this one, sportsbooks are like, we are not moving off of this, and the reason for that is because, well, everyone's like, Dan Campbell off of a loss is like basically undefeated against the spread. He's unbelievable. But the sports books know that too. It's not a secret anymore. Like the first couple of years, maybe it was a secret. Maybe the sports books didn't account for that nearly as well. For this one, they've moved the line all the way out to 8.5, 9.5 points. Like the sports books are like, we know the Lions are good off of a bye. We are going to account for that. And the line has accounted for that. That is no longer a trend or an advantage that we can play going forward, I don't think, unfortunately. It was a good run. Made a lot of money off it. He followed us the last couple of years. But we can no longer bet on the Lions blindly off the loss against the spread. Last week, like you said, we kind of covered it a little bit already previously. I'm going to place all of the blame on last week's loss against the Vikings on Johnny Morton's shoulders. Okay, I think that's fair for me to say. And I think that's fair for Johnny Morton to have bad games as a first-time offensive NFL play caller in the NFL coming from the Broncos by way of Detroit. Detroit Broncos came back to, the team he truly loves and cares for. These are growing pains, and everyone's like, oh, if Ben Johnson was there, we would have won that game by 1,000,000. Maybe, but that's also big-time revisionist history. If you were following the Lions closely through Johnson's run with them, Johnson blew games too. There were games where he called bad games. He didn't adapt. And I think we saw that with Johnny Morton. I think he's going to grow from that. And I think he's going to internalize it and do some self-scouting like I have done this week and be like, I probably should have pushed the ball down the field a little bit more instead of attacking the sidelines, because everything the Vikings were trying to do was take away the sidelines, blitz, cause pressure to stop the run and get in Jared Goff's face. And we are going to have Isaac Tesla and Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra wide open over the middle of the field. And we're going to force the Lions to throw those balls. What happened when the Lions were down 2 scores at the end of the game? They were forced to push the ball down the field, down the middle of the field. Guess what happened? They scored 80 yards in like 2.5 plays, right? So it is definitely on John Morton. The offensive play calling was bad. In that game, it was not atrocious. It was bad, and he failed to adapt. And that'll happen in an individual game. Divisional games are tough, like we just talked about with the Rams and the 49ers. It's not easy to win divisional games. And that's why when you blow out the Bears in week 2 by like 40 points, you sit back, you crack a beer, and you're like, hell yeah, that was fun to just absolutely blow out an individual opponent. Okay. Why are the Lions so good off of a loss? Because their offense scores a lot of points. Since 2022, they've averaged 32.1 points per game after a loss. Lions averaged 29.9 points per game this season. Shout out to Johnny Mo, one of the best offenses in the league. Commanders, by the way, averaging 22.3 points per game this season. Quick maths, that already gets you to 52.2 points. That's the over for you right there. Now you add an extra 2 points, 2.2 points on top of that. That's over, baby. Commanders defense ranks 28th per my model. Lions offense ranks 6th in the NFL per my model. Give me the over 49.5 points, James.
Wow. Get your
Which brings us. What's that?
Get your popcorn ready.
Get your popcorn ready. It'll be a lot of points. And honestly, the Lions might cover that by themselves. We'll see. I bet you the Commanders have something to say about it. Oh, we didn't even mention Marcus Mariota. Should have mentioned that. That's on me. Hand up. Marcus Mariota will be starting for the Commanders for that one after the Jaden Daniels gruesome arm injury. Next game, last game on the slate, last game of the week, because it's Monday night. The Eagles and the Packers are playing football against each other. The Packers are 2 or 2.5 point favorites at home. The over-under is set to 45 45.5 or 44.5, depending on where you're getting it. This is a cold weather game with a small chance of snow. You just get tingles up your spine, James. I'm getting pretty excited. We're getting into some meaningful football here in November. Eagles, Packers. What do you got on this one, James?
Yeah, relatively close to each other teams. I mean, I think the differences here are really, just a couple points. Are the underdogs barking already? Hang on.
Underdog dogs are barking, tipping James's picks.
Missing on my cues, I swear.
Jeez.
Trained him. We went through 2 rehearsals of this. You guys really
Get the shock collar back out. Give him the Hassan treatment.
Jesus Christ.
We are on Twitch now, so
yeah, that's allowed.
I think it is.
Look at the main issue with this Packers team. It's their offensive line. They have very poor ratings when it comes to pass blocking and run blocking. As much as I hate to say it, this Eagles defensive line is fantastic. They got a lot of bulldogs, got a lot of guys who like to drive fast. And I'm expecting them to get to the quarterback and hopefully not spit on anybody this time. I'm taking the Eagles at plus 125, and now you may bark.
Boston just freaked out. We need to get a question from the comment section. Do we got to pay for bets here? Hell no. You'll never pay for bets on this podcast because you'd be an idiot. Oh yeah, you can donate us. You can send us some Venmo.
Donate us your winnings.
You can donate a little tip of your winnings to us, but it's not required. And we won a lot of people a lot of money last season. So
actually, Jamie, I have a secret lock of the week. 50-unit lock. Double your mortgage lock. Just send me 2 Bitcoins and I will make you a millionaire.
Wow, what a deal, James. It's something that I would like to invest in. And by the way, don't ever buy bets from anybody. You'd have to be an idiot. And most of those people who sell those picks, they give you picks after the game's or after that line's gone. So they'll be like, "Oh, take the lines at -7," and you'll open your app and you'll be like, "Oh, lines are -9.5. Good thing I paid $25 for that pick. Thank you very much. If I wanted to lose my own money, I would have just done it without paying you for it." Anyways, good question from chat. Glad we're live now. This is fun.
Yeah, this is great.
Anyways, 90% speaking of money, 90% of the money on the Eagles, which is who you just backed, Eagles spread. I'm going to make this one easy. This one was an easy peasy lemon squeezy pick for me because this is an overreaction to the Packers pooping their pants in front of all of us last week against the Panthers. Season long. Big sample size, James. We like our sample sizes big, right? Sample size, big sample size. The Eagles and the Packers defenses are virtually identical per my model. I have the Packers offense ranked the 4th best in the NFL. I have the Eagles offense ranked 10th best in the NFL. Free roll if A.J. Brown can't play because we all know he's down with like a hamstring or a groin sort of situation going on. If this is a Packers game in the snow, speaking of 2 mortgage payments on the Packers, I'd go ahead and recommend that right now. But seriously, we got on paper a much better team at home, and they're only 2-point favorites coming off of a embarrassing loss to the Panthers. I should have looked what happened the week after the Packers blew it and tied against the Browns. Should have looked that up. I'm sure they played well. I'm sure they covered 2, if I had to guess. So we're going to disagree on this one. Give me the Packers. I'm going to ride with Vegas.
Oh, wow.
At Packers -2.
I've got bad news for you, Jamie.
What?
After the Packers lost to the Browns, they then went to Dallas and tied.
Oh, they lost the Browns, tied
to
the Cowboys. Cowboys are a great ball club, all right?
Yeah.
Cowboys are,
yeah.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Totally.
Give me Packers -2. Okay, so now we got our best bet of the week, red hot right now. So if you want to put 1.5 units on it, I now give you permission to do that. I told you, I forbid you because it was ice cold to start the season. It's red hot now, so you're allowed to. You're allowed to follow it. And what did we agree on, James? Going backwards now.
The Texans and the Niners are the two.
And the Niners. I like the divisional matchup aspect of getting 4 points at home with the 49ers. But something about it just makes me nervous. And I think the Texans finally break their schneid and overcome their terrible head coach. You don't think so?
No, D'Amico's great.
Oh, D'Amico is a good head coach. Of course, we all know that.
Why are all our friends of the program people you make fun of? This is not good for our PR.
It's good for your PR. I'm not the one getting invited to Giants games, sideline tickets and stuff like that.
Maybe you would get invited.
I probably would if I would have schmooze him a little bit more, but I'm a man of integrity. And if I see a head coach who's a doofus, I'm going to go ahead and call him a doofus.
Brian is pretty good with that. Actually, Brian Daboll has printed out a fat head of you on the back of his office door and just throws darts at it every day.
I deserve it for everything that I have said into a microphone about Brian Daboll. But let's take a doofus head coach in a close game. He's 0-5 this season in close matchups. Something about the Rams just scares the piss out of me. So let's go ahead and take the Texans at home -1 point and just hope and pray Jacoby Myers doesn't go buck wild over there
at cornerback
in Houston. Shout out to Judge David Fleischer, probable cause judge, YouTuber out of Houston, Texas. Go ahead and give him a watch. Thank you guys for watching us. If this is your first time joining us, please subscribe to the channel. We always ask you to give us a 3-week sample size. Stay with us for 3 weeks. Watch the very end. And if by the end of those 3 weeks, you're like, well, I'm a lot poorer than I started, unsubscribe, leave a comment, say you guys suck. And if you're up money, I imagine you'll probably stay with us. That'd be kind of dumb for you to be like, no, I'm done now after 3 weeks, right, James?
Yeah. And then after 3 weeks, you can buy the super extra mortgage.
Of course. Brought to you by Prize Picks. Anyways, just kidding about all that. James, I think we're going to try and do for our, by the way, our live watch party alternate commentary of the week, where I get some comedians on my casting couch here in South Dallas and we watch a football game together. I think it's going to be the Packers and the Eagles on Monday night. So that's a special weekday Monday night watch party for all of you at home. So please subscribe and watch to us for that, because I'll be sweating that one out. I'm sure our matchup this week, James, will come down to Monday night, us on opposite sides of Packers and Eagles.
I'm gonna have to check the old calendar. If we're down to the final game, it'd be pretty interesting to watch it live.
You're gonna join us there on chat. If you're, by the way, James, if you are available, I would like to cordially invite you to join us on the casting couch on Monday night this week.
I think I might be.
Woo! All right. Well, tune in, subscribe to see if James ends up on my casting couch here on Monday night this week. And thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe, and we'll see you next time.